Hello and thanks for visiting our website, rebuilderinbox.com. Today we're going to be learning how to rebuild the ever popular Ford starter, known as the Ford permanent magnet, because of the magnet housing instead of fields. This is the popular automotive style, and over here the open face is popular on the trucks and vans. These started in 1991 and continued pretty much to date. First step on tearing one apart is you'll notice where the field lead comes up and is held on by the 13mm nut. So take your 13mm socket and remove that. Then we have to get the solenoid mounting bolts off. And what we're going to do is, since we're sending you a new solenoid anyway, go ahead and tighten this up with the solenoid in the vise. Then we're going to take a 6" by 1/4" extension and pound directly down on the Torx head to break the taper loose. So go ahead and hit those pretty hard. Then if you have to put the if you have to pound the Torx head in there, go ahead and tap that in too. That'll give you a better bite. Here you can see the two Torx head bolts holding it on. And what happens is, since you tap down with that to break the taper loose, you're going to have to tap the T25 Torx into it. And that's actually a good thing. Gives you a nice strong bite, and then you're ready to crank that out. Now we're going to take the 4 bolts out in the back. The 2 that we've marked with the yellow are the 2 short ones that hold the brush holder assembly in. The bottom one is very important that you get that tight when you replace it, because the entire unit grounds out at that point. Usually these bolts, the ones that we've marked in yellow, are 6mm. These are 5/16. It varies though. Sometimes you'll see Phillips, depending if it's been rebuilt before. Usually the 2 red ones, the ones that we've marked red, are just a 5/16, and those are the long ones, the ones that go clear through and bolt to the front part of the nose. So we're going to unscrew those and then take these out. There's one of the brush holder screws and the wall screw bolt. And then you can take a hammer and give it just a slight tap so that the end plate comes right off. Then we're going to stand it up in the vise, because there's a little round ball in the bottom part that we'd rather not lose. Just hold the top with one hand and you might have to tap down on it to get the nose cone off. But that comes out, and the ball is underneath this part right here. You'll see there's a concave shape, and if you look down in that hole, you'll see the ball that you don't want to lose. So what we're going to do to not lose this ball is take the gear cover off, take the 3 gears out, and then you'll see the little ball down inside this hole. Hold this kind of in with a screwdriver and just tap for it to come. And there's a shot of the 3 gears and the little ball. Then you'll notice the rubber grommet right here. Just slide that right out. Then we're going to turn it over and smack it on the bench to get the shaft assembly out. shaft assembly. Take that off. The fork comes right off. And make a special note, if the fork has a rounded side on it, some of them do, some of them don't. If it does, that has to go back on with the rounded side facing the gear. So take a good look at that. Put a paint mark on it if you have to, or just write it down. The rounded portion of the fork has to go toward the gear. Now we have to remove this clip on the shaft right here so that we can get the bendix off. All it really is just a horseshoe clip, and the way you can do that, there's two different tools you can use. You can use a pair of needle nose pliers and open them up to that size to where each part of the needle nose is resting on the top of the clip, and then tap down on it with a hammer, or you can just take a pair of channel locks and open it up to the size of the shaft, but that they're small enough to rest on the outside of the clip. Then you hold it like that with that opening and tap straight down on it with a hammer. Then you can take the bendix off. It just comes right off. And then you want to take sandpaper or Scotch-Brite and polish up the shaft as good as you can. If there's any ridges or burrs in the area of the undercut where the snap ring goes, take all those off with a file and then sand them off smooth. Now what we're going to do is take the armature brush holder assembly out of the magnetic housing. Put the housing in the vise just gently. And if it seems to be stuck a little bit, take your hammer handle and maybe tap it loose, because you need to work this grommet here. This grommet in the U shape going into the housing, you're going to have to just pry on that a little bit. Anyway, put it in the vise loosely and just push out with your fingers, and the whole thing comes out all at once. So you have the armature and the brush holder assembly. Then just pop off the brushes. The nice thing about the Ford armature, the permanent magnet Ford armature, is that visual inspection will reveal probably about 99% of the problems that you're going to encounter. We've taken some Scotch-Brite or some 80 grit paper and cleaned up the commutators on these so they can be inspected. You can see these bars here, these are all in good shape. The copper is all there in between the lines. And then you'll notice this one here, the brushes have been ignored too long on it, and it's unusable. We can send you a new armature, they're not real expensive. Here's a little bit a better look at the bar that's been deteriorated, and you can see in this area here, and over here, that would be considered unusable. Whereas those are all in perfect reusable condition. The other condition that pretty much renders an armature unusable is when it's been smoked. This is caused by ignition switch sticking on, or someone has some sort of problem with their engine and they just cranked until the starter burned up. You might not be able to tell visually. Well, you can see it's burned, but sometimes if you've had one rebuilt before, it can be disillusionable because someone painted it with some flat black or some dark black paint. But when you tear this unit down, when you first crack the end plate off, you're going to notice a large burnt smell. And once you